I want to tell you guys about my day yesterday on my shift. There's we have cohort rooms on one side of our floor. So it'd be like 7A and 7B or 9A, 9B. And so I had a patient that was in the A bed and another nurse had a patient that was in the B bed. But the family in the B bed, they were in the waiting room. I don't know why they was in the waiting room, but I guess they just went in there to talk away from their mother. She had 13 kids. Well, she got 13 kids. They all still living. And she was, I want to say 89, they told me. Anyway, the little lady came out on like a little scooter out the waiting room, and she was singing that song by Heatwave, Always and Forever. And so I was getting ready to go that way and pass my meds or whatever. So I started singing with her, trying to decide if I should put my wig on or just these little edges. I don't know how my edges started coming out. I had edges. It was just thinning at the top, but now it's just thinning all over. Okay, anyway. So I started singing that song with her. And of course, I was going to my patient room, right? And so we just got to talking, and they started asking me, my name, and we started going over other songs. The woman that was singing that song, she had been through a brain surgery. I didn't ask what kind, but she was 60-some years old, and they say she still got all her memory, just doing well. And she looked good too, a Hispanic family. And so I don't know how we got to talking about me. She said it had been 6 years for her. I said it ain't been that long. I say, but it's moving in the wrong direction for me. And so she would. I can't remember the whole conversation, but this family was so cool. And so we just began to start going over, old songs, LTD. And then she liked that song, Sitting in the Park, Waiting for You. And so I was like, okay, boo boo, I can rock with you. I know these songs too. So we were in there having a little mini concert. But this is what I came to tell you. So when I came out the room, I was going to my other patient room, which is across from that room. And so the room next to my other patient was another nurse patient. So the lady called me and she said, ma'am, and I was afraid to go in there because, you got your 5 patients and then somebody else call you because they want you to go run and get something. I ain't going to lie to you. That's the truth. And so I went in there and she said, what's your name? And I said, Sandra. And she said, I just want to let you know. She said, you got a beautiful personality. She said, I hear you out there singing. And she said, you make this floor. And she said, every time you walk by, you smiling. And I said, thank you. I said, she said, you like your job? I said, I love people. I love coming to work and, mess with people. I say, because I live by myself. I don't get a chance to talk to nobody. So I come up here and I mess with the patients. I said, and it makes my day. Some days are harder than others, but nevertheless, I still enjoy, patient care. And so she said, you keep on smiling and keep on making a difference, blah, blah, blah. But let me tell you what I'm saying all this, what I mean. You can have, I know the world wants to be happy. And people used to tell me when I was telling my kids, they couldn't date white girls and they couldn't do this. And no, my kids can't go hanging out. And people would tell me, saying, and I heard a nurse say it yesterday too. They said, saying you just want your kids to be happy. And I used to tell my kids, Jesus ain't never promised us happiness. I didn't give a rabbit's apple sugar about their happiness, right? What I cared about was making sure they was good citizens, good people, having good morals and good values. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens when your loved one is sick? What happens when you ain't got enough money to meet the month? What happens when life is falling around all around you? You're not happy about that. But if somewhere or another you can get you some joy in the inside, to whatever going on external, you got something on the inside of you that you can be thankful for. That you can have. I'm talking about sincere joy on the inside where I don't care what goes on the outside. You can get somewhere and be at peace. And you can get somewhere and feel and just feel joy. It's nothing on the outside. The new Lexus ain't gonna get it for you. The new Chanel not going to get it for you. Going to watch every tennis tournament in the world. It don't give you joy. It makes you happy. It exposes you to different stuff, you know, but it don't give you joy. And I thought about that on this morning. You know the reason why I can walk up in that hospital and deal with the patients and the staff and all the other spirits that's coming at you. It's because I thank God that I got Jesus on the inside of me. And when I look back over my life and I think about all the stuff that I've been through, right? I think about the challenges that was working in my mind at one time that was just really trying to take me up out of here. You know, I think about all that and I thank God for joy. I do. I thank God for joy. And you know, you leave your house. And I used to really, really love my house. Don't get me wrong, I still love it, but I used to really, really love it. I thought my house was just so cozy and so, it was cute. And then the Lord blessed me to move down here in this little 681 square foot apartment. And you talk about cozy. Oh my God. And it's so warm. Even with me now I'm going through hot flashes now, right? I don't get the big sweats. I ain't got there yet because I still get my womanhood. But my body goes through where just the whole body just heats up and I have to kick the cover off. And I said, Lord, even in the midst of that, you're talking about cozy, right? Because I love to feel warm. I love to feel protected and covered and provided for. I love that. I really do. But in this little small space that the Lord has blessed me to have, it's peaceful. It's peaceful. And He's blessed me with this joy that man couldn't give to me. Outside stuff couldn't give to me. You have your kids and your kids go through stuff. Then you have your grandbabies and you don't want them to go through stuff. You want them to have a easy road. And I even thought about that. I say, Lord, I don't know if I want my grandbabies to have it too easy. Because we can give it to them real easy, but the world ain't going to give it to them easy. So you got to prepare your kids. We so caught up in, want them to be happy. I never bought into that. I never bought into the happiness. My kids can vouch for you. I didn't care about them being happy. You're gonna get this real life lessons that life is gonna give you, and I'm gonna make sure you experience it. Now I did try to protect them from some stuff. No lie. I kept them one house to the right, one house to the left, and they couldn't rip and run the streets. But because in my heart, I knew they was gonna get the street eventually. So I kept them close to me as long as possible, But back to the story, try to get some joy. Try to get something on the inside. Try to get, and it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I like nice stuff. I ain't gonna lie to you. As a young folks, so I ain't gonna even hold you. I like nice stuff. And if the Lord allows these fingers and these legs and this brain of mine to work, I'm gonna go out and make a couple of coins to get me some nice stuff, right? But even with the nice stuff, when I couldn't get my nice stuff, right? I had joy. I had joy. In a season where I felt like I had nobody. You hear me? Where I felt like I was by myself. I felt like I was sinking. Jesus would come in and tap me on my shoulder and let me know He's walking with me. He was there with me. You guys better try to get some joy. When you get through drinking, when you get through smoking the blunt, when you get through screwing and doing all the stuff that you do to find your happiness, you feel good. You better get you some Jesus and get some joy on the inside of you, because that's what's going to last. That's what's going to carry you through. When you're struggling, that's what's going to carry you through. Try to be a light. Over in the scripture said, you don't light a candle to put underneath the bed, right? Try to be a light, because you never know what somebody's going through. You just never know. I've been there. I'm telling you, I've been there. I ain't talking about what Penny Merrill told me. I'm telling you, I've been there. Okay, let me try this wig on so I can get to the airport. Happy Sunday, and you guys be encouraged.